Bing bong.
This is the iDanSimpson Show.
We do it because it's right.
I love the dialectic.
His testicles became swollen.
Based.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Please clap. Please clap.
Who's this man? This man in the hat. I'm gonna ruin this.
You're a stupid baby, Dan. Not me.
All right. Welcome, viewers. This is the iDanSimpson Show, Leftist Chill with iDanSimpson. I'm iDanSimpson. Today, we're going to have Lefthandstu, returning champion to the stream, Lefthandstu, political journalist in Canada. Please clap for Lefthandstu.
Please
Yes.
clap.
Hello. Yes. What's up, Stu? Welcome back. How you doing today? Tell us about your day. It's the day after we learned SCOTUS, after the whole leak. The last time we talked was the leak. Now we're seeing what happened with that. How's your how you doing?
It's I don't know. It's hard to sort of put all my thoughts together, but I think the one thing I'm just struck with is that we knew this was coming, and nothing happened between when that thing was leaked and the actual ruling. So it just feels I don't know. It's not a good time to be a person who can give birth in America, and I have a lot of empathy and sadness for those for anyone in that position, especially if you're like in Louisiana, not Louisiana, I forget what it is, but like Texas or any of those states that are right in the core of those states that have just immediately banned basically all abortion. But it's and it's they're not stopping with Roe v. Wade. They had I think it was Clarence Thomas who said it. I'm not sure, but just basically came out and said
errors.
Yeah, we're coming for we should look at contraception and gay sex and gay marriage at the same time, because they're basically all, I think the rulings for those are under the same sort of like, I think it's like the personal privacy is the argument that was made for all of them. And if the personal privacy argument doesn't fly anymore for abortion, then you know what's coming down the pipe for everything else.
Yeah. I'm not close to those details. That's going to be I guess something I'll have to dig in so I can have a better understanding of the legal framework here. But I'm actually I think it's not too far fetched to think that he'd go after mixed marriages, because he identifies as white after all.
Does he?
I mean, I'm just joking, but you believe me. But you totally believe me. Yeah.
I don't know. Claire, he's got that's my
it's slavery
my actual, too. My not completely joke take is that I think Ginny Thomas was behind the leak.
Yeah. Oh shit, she's so bad, dude. Yeah, I could totally see that. That makes sense. 100%. She was at J6ing.
And Clarence Thomas has said on multiple occasions that she's his sounding board for a lot of this stuff. Like he talks to her and gets her opinion on a lot of things. And
yeah, she's texting Mark Meadows, leading up to and during J6, aka she's texting Trump, right?
Yeah.
Wild stuff.
Exactly.
Wild stuff. Okay. Well, that was yesterday, and we've been sort of processing it and still processing it. I went downtown yesterday for a little bit to catch the protest there. It's incredibly busy. I was super overwhelmed. I couldn't stay very long, and I was hungry too. So I got tacos, and I went home. But I got some video, and I shared that on the places. But okay, here's the deal. When I was there, one of the things that was triggering was... okay, actually, I got a video of it. Was one of the last speakers that I'd seen before I had to skedaddle. They got a little chant, they're on the microphone going, here we go. I hope you can hear this. All right, a little bit quiet. Let me try to hit that audio a little bit Louder. Here.
If you are wondering in this crowd what you can do, I will tell you that what you can do is vote.
Oh, man. So that's
Just a
what you...
little more vote, a few more votes. I swear to God.
Yeah.
Just a couple more votes. Give us a couple more votes, and we'll do it. I swear to God. Next time we'll do it. Just a couple more votes. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by a lot. People fucking voted, and it didn't work. I don't know what. It's such a insane argument, and that was I made the most low effort this you post to Obama, because Obama was tweeting about it last night, and I was just like, hey, remember when you decided that codifying abortion rights was no longer a priority? This you, and that one kind of blew up, and I was like, I didn't, but it is just sort of like I'm reading the comments, and it is sort of just the amount of excuses for, well, they all agree with me because they're like, well, yeah, it was just, I wonder what happened in 2008 to make it not a priority. And I'm like, so you admit that Obama didn't make it a priority when he campaigned on it being a priority and then changed his mind. So, I mean, if we're like, I don't think Obama has complete culpability for this. I would say Ruth Bader Ginsburg not wanting Obama to replace her probably has a larger influence, but
She didn't want a black person to replace her. She wanted a white woman. Yeah.
I mean, I know for sure it's the second part. You have to speculate on the first part of that statement. But she definitely wanted the white lady to replace her. She felt like she wanted Hillary Clinton to be the one who replaced her.
This blew the fuck up, dude.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a tweet go anywhere even close to like 1,000 likes.
Whoa.
And then it's just doing gangbusters.
Incredible.
The most low effort, like just this you post I've ever done, and it just everyone really liked it for some reason.
That's awesome. Yeah, just go vote. Vote. And honestly, this threads in the reason we invited you here today, Stu. We wanted to talk to you about the media, more specifically John Oliver. And in John Oliver's piece, I guess I'm going to have to find it and show you. You just can't even believe what he says. It's at the end of he does an abortion. John Oliver, he talks about abortion. I should have had this. I should have had this ready. I'm so sorry. I'm not prepared.
No worries.
I'm better than this. No, I'm not. Okay. He's got an 18-minute piece from a month ago. He sees it coming, right? He sees it coming. Let me pull it up, the part where
everyone saw it coming. It was telegraphed when they leaked it.
They leaked it.
And then nothing was done about it.
So let's see what he says about what to do. Oh, did you know about his wife?
John Oliver's?
Yeah.
No.
Oh my God. I can't wait to tell you.
Wife?
I'm gonna let that seed sit right there. I want you to sit with that for I'm gonna blow your mind, dude. Hold on to your buttholes. All right.
Excited.
Let me try to fuck it.
Really long time to ensure that Roe would not be permanent. But the thing is, its undoing doesn't have to be either. This week we have all been reminded of what the most marginalised people in this country have known for years, that freedoms are never guaranteed. They are hard won and they are easily lost. Progress requires a consistent, sustained struggle, a willingness to disrupt everyday life, and actual courage from the people that we choose to lead us. In short, we are all going to badly need to have the same anger and the same willingness for a long-haul fight.
I fucked it up.
As the world's most hardcore knitter.
Okay, that wasn't it. It was back further. He's saying, fuck. Hey, let me show you this really badass trick if you ever need to find something. If something has the captions, transcript, hit transcript, and then look for the thing that you're looking for. What was I looking for? Vote. Vote.
Oh, that's smart.
Yes.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, bro. He's effectively arguing that, like, liberals vote the way the conservatives do on abortion, and that's how you get it. But specifically, he goes, I know you don't want to hear this, but he says it anyways. And I'm like, what the fuck, bro?
They voted for Obama. He overwhelmingly.
Here.
They voted for Hillary overwhelmingly, and it didn't do anything. These people have lifetime appointments. You can't vote the judges out.
Well, Susan
They're there
Sarandon.
until they die, or unless they choose to leave, which I don't think any of the conservative judges are going to do.
Counterpoint, Susan Sarandon told us to vote for the wrong SCOTUS judges, and I guess we all believed her, and we're all to blame here. Here's the part where I wanted to get to.
You would probably rather eat shards of glass than be told to vote one more time. Especially if you've been keeping up your...
Yeah, except there's a big smelly butt around the corner.
Yeah.
The deal, showing up to the polls and holding your nose to vote for a candidate you may not even like while enduring thousands of texts screaming it is the most important election of your lifetime.
He gets
Donate
it.
$20 to the DNC right now. And you didn't text stop to quit once, no matter how much you wanted to, and you wanted to throw your phone in the fucking river.
You feel the butt coming. You feel it coming, and it's going to obliterate all of the legitimate things he's just said. Because he's going, all of the things I've just said are legitimate, but don't listen to him and do this thing anyways. Even though I've just laid out all of the reasons why it won't actually help in this situation. Because you did it, but you were already doing these things.
Yeah, and I know you don't want to hear it.
Who does John Oliver think is the person that is going who is just now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned is going to go, oh, I haven't been voting. I should have been voting this. They've all been voting. They've been doing it. They were doing it this whole time. Yeah. Newsflash, asshole. They've been voting this whole time, and it didn't do anything good. It didn't work. And so people are rightly pissed.
Mm-hmm.
I get why just vote is an infuriatingly insufficient slogan when voting rights themselves are under siege. I cannot defend the system we currently have, but it is unfortunately the one we've got right now. So electoral victories are going to be critical here, but they
isn't that an
must
argument
be
for the system we have not being the one we want? That we should change that system? You're not arguing that we should work within this system, John. You're making the opposite argument. You just don't realize that, or you're not allowed to make that argument. You're not allowed to say, this is the system we've got, so maybe we should change that system.
Right. And that could sort of make sense. They're like, hey, you can't really do revolutionary shit, but that's not an excuse for him saying, hey, work within the system you're given, and only that system and not outside the system. That's not a good excuse for him, of course. Okay.
Well, it's just because it's funny because his whole argument is this whole system has not been working, and understandably, and are angry the fact it's not been working. Yeah. But keep doing it. Keep working inside the system.
I don't wanna, John. I don't wanna.
Concrete actions by those that we elect, because Republicans, if nothing else, just grimly demonstrated what committed action can actually achieve. They never accepted Roe v. Wade as final. They played the long game, and not always fairly, but they rallied their base and relentlessly held their party leaders accountable, whether they liked those leaders or not. And then, crucially, those leaders delivered for them because they understood that voting is only meaningful if the people who win actually do what they fucking promise you. Anti-choice advocates.
I'm just going to pause right there. This is how they browbeat conservatives into voting for other conservatives, right? And now this is going to be used against the left. Liberals are going to use this against the left. Oh, you're not going to support the pro-abortion candidate? You're not going to vote for Hillary Clinton? You know what I mean? Y'all tracking me on that one?
She won by 3 million votes.
She did.
3 million more people voted for her than Donald Trump, and it didn't matter. That's I don't know how you make that argument that you just need to vote harder. They all did.
Super hard.
Who do you think is not voting? Who do you think you're talking to who cares this much about this subject who hasn't been voting?
Mm-hmm. His viewership is voters, disaffected voters, mad voters. And so he's just going to play into that. He's going to keep telling them to vote. Work within the system. Yeah. I can't wait to tell you who his wife is.
Really hard for a really long
I'm going to pause that right there. I want to tell you about his wife. Well, first of all, he met her and chat, maybe you can hold my hand through this. I only learned about this yesterday. He met her. I'm going to go to my Instagram. Through, he was doing a bit, I think, for The Daily Show, and he went to a Republican convention. And she was there on behalf of a think tank, a neoconservative think tank, partly funded by Sheldon Adelson. And what they do is they try to help vets get elected here in the United States. She was a vet. After 9/11, she was inspired to join the U.S. military. And so she was apparently in the cavalry. I don't know. On one episode of the show, he's like wearing the pin of her like a placement in Iraq or Afghanistan or whatever. So the think tank, their mission, their stated mission, it's a neoconservative think tank. One of their main advisors is Bill Kristol.
Oh, Jesus, of course.
Their mission is to help candidates who believe in achieving success in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the overall war on terror.
Are we still doing the war on terror? We haven't stopped that. That's still going. We're
I don't
still
know.
Keeping that up. Apparently.
I don't know if they've updated their mission or what, but can you believe that? I'm a believer. I'm a believer.
That's one of the things is that when you start looking at like all of the personal relationships of the people you see on your TV at least, and the people in power, it's a very small club. It's not as big of a club as you might think. It's very I don't want to say incestuous, but the overlap is wild with just the people who are put in front of you to talk to you on your TV and their relationships to sort of special interest groups, shall we say. It's very funny. My favorite one is just Anderson Cooper.
Swanson Air, or what do you mean by that specifically?
What's his last name? I think we talked about it before. His what's his mom's name? He's the son of he's a Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Vanderbilt.
His mom's Gloria Vanderbilt. You've seen those photos.
Which photos?
Just Googled Anderson Cooper childhood photos.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. Oh my lord.
Yes. There's the one where he's in the bed with his mom and his brother, and they're in pajamas. That is, yes. That first one is very. I don't know. It's.
What is going on here?
Yeah, that's the picture they find like in the haunted house, and the glass is cracked and all the eyes are X'd out. That's the photo you find, and it's like, oh, this is the demon has come alive. It's cursed.
Oh my god, I am tripping out here. I'm scared. This is gonna give me nightmares. That's nightmare fuel. All right, that's Anderson Cooper's upbringing, I guess. Lots of plaid, lots of that gingham. He was raised by gingham.
Yeah, and then
seeing that
he grew up to be the most pure white man in the world.
Trash. And that's what people will say.
And like white hair, like immediately.
People will say I'm giving John Oliver a lot of shit right now. One of my things is I do want to give him a fair shake and talk about the good stuff that he does. He's not all bad. Of course, he's not as bad as Tucker Tucker Carlson. He's not as bad as Anderson Cooper. But people will try to use that as a defense to be like, oh, he's not as bad as Jimmy Kimmel. And I'm like, but y'all are putting the bar extremely low. In fact, I think it's about 6 feet below the ground. You know, the bare minimum that they're expecting is going to kill us all slowly.
Yes.
And
it all goes back to sort of, I think, like Jon Stewart, because I was
there we go.
Yeah, I was a religious Daily Show watcher.
Same.
I watched it every day. I'd watch it on ComedyCentral.com the next day if I missed it.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes twice, three times. I love
Jon Stewart's refrain. He's like, I'm not a journalist. And he would always he got a lot of credibility because of how shit a lot of the journalists at the time were, namely that Crossfire thing is famous when he went on Crossfire and just dunked on those two constantly.
Iconic.
And but it's sort of like every journalist wants to be Jon Stewart now. which is, I think, the worst lesson that could have been learned from the Daily Show. Every like late night comedy show host wants to be Jon Stewart. Every like news anchor like is trying to do Jon Stewart shit. Like what's his face on MSNBC? Chris Hayes was doing like a live studio audience. I'm like, you're doing the news. What the fuck are you talking about? Why do you have a live studio audience? What do you want live reaction to the? What do you? It was insane because it's he set a standard for journalism, which is terrifying. He was very good. He was good. He was in a lot of ways very responsible. In a lot of ways, he had some issues because of like very things you can point to that were very problematic because of the time. It was like the early 2000s. Namely, Chief Justice Chick with Dick is a very it was. I forget who it was that suggested there could be a transgender Supreme Court justice, and Jon Stewart's joke to that was now pronouncing Supreme Court Justice Chick with a Dick or something. This was the early 2000s. It was early 2000s Comedy Central. You get what I think you should expect. You should expect a certain level of this is not going to age well. Yeah. But also he had like there was like the segment he did after 9/11 set the fucking standard for how journalists react after a tragedy occurs. But I don't think anyone has ever taught that, the look for the helpers sort of that speech. But the fact that a comedian in the early 2000s set the stage for what journalists now are whether like consciously or unconsciously seem to be striving for, I think might be a problem. And he has all his acolytes that have now sort of spread out. You got Samantha Bee. Samantha Bee goes under the radar because just no one watches Samantha Bee. No hate against Samantha Bee. That's just true. Very few people watched her show comparatively to like John Oliver's show. Okay. But yeah, they all just tried to keep doing the Jon Stewart thing. And my defense of John Oliver and those guys is like, I don't know why you're expecting, like, he's not going to come out playing the Internationale and saying we need a workers' revolution. I think the problem is the expectations might be too high. The fact that he'll say these things and then people can see in the sort of the negative space of what he's not saying. Yes. I think is probably better than nothing. I think when he's doing that whole thing, like the system's not working, and you don't want to hear just vote because like for all of these reasons it's not working. That for him to then go but still vote. A lot of people are going to have the same reaction like me and you are having, going like, but you just said that it doesn't work. So it's better than, I don't know, like, yeah. I have a lot of conflicting beliefs about this.
It's better than him like lying to us, saying this will do it. You have to vote. It'll work. Like it's better than him explicitly lying to us.
Yeah, it's better than him not saying everything before the but he still said the but.
I just wish he would stop right there, and then for his audience to go, well, what do we do, John? It's like, good. Now you're asking the questions.
Yeah,
and that's what he doesn't do. He doesn't get his audience to ask questions. He doesn't get his audience to look at his show as like a stepping stone. Instead, he's pacifying. That's one of my arguments. He's sort of pacifying. He convinces liberals that they are leftists and that they're actually opposed to the root causes of the problems that he often does bring up and shed light on. And he can be very educational up to a point when he misinforms his audience as to what's to be done. And when he does that, he ignores the root problems of the root causes of the problems, and then he actually shits the bed, and he actually just confuses and muddles the whole thing. And I think he really does his audience a disservice. I would never do that with my platform. I'm not doing it here. At the same time, if he did it there, then he would put us out of business because we wouldn't have to do it here. He's a job creator. Yeah. Thank you, John Oliver.
Well, I think if we're being fair, it's kind of a reality of anyone who has an audience. You're not going to want to send someone in a direction either right or left on the political spectrum away from where you are, because that's you want to keep your audience in a holding pattern, basically. Like that's what one of the criticisms I have, or like when I roll my eyes whenever we have like Twitch streamers who I'm like, oh, I'm de-radicalizing people on my stream. It's like, no, you're just making them your viewers. And it's like, it's maybe they've moved partially to the left or the right to more become in line with you, but it's in your best interest to keep them in a holding pattern at that spot and not send them further down the road, because then you lose viewers. Like, I could say if I was going to be critical of you, I would say you don't have. It's not in your best interest to make your viewers. I'm not saying you're doing this, but it's not in your financial best interest to make your viewers more left or more radical than you are. No, because then they're like, oh, Dan's the goddamn lib. I'm not watching him anymore because he's. So it's the same thing with John Oliver. He doesn't want to make his viewers, his HBO subscribing viewers, most of the time, more radical or leftist, because then they don't subscribe to fucking HBO anymore. So that whole just sort of he's on HBO. It's what there's a huge financial interest in all of that can never be forgotten. Whether John Oliver wants to, he could be a secret Marxist. So
that's one of the big arguments that I keep hearing over and over and over again. Anyone who talks about John Oliver in depth is going to get to that point of the conversation. Oh no, he's a secret socialist, a secret commie. He's not allowed to go any further than he has gone on HBO. He's not allowed to. But what do you think about that?
I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't think the University of Cambridge educated comedian is a secret Marxist. He's posh as fuck. He's probably pretty left. I'm sure he's probably very left and very progressive. I don't think he's a red diaper baby.
All right. I do the gatekeeping to an extent, and I just don't believe that liberals are left.
It's all. I mean, that's the other thing where it's all like it's subjective. Because it's like if you're a socialist or you're a Marxist or you're communist or whatever, John Oliver is to your right.
Fair.
But if you're if you're Tucker Carlson, as we threw out, John Oliver might as well be a Marxist. That's the thing where it's like that's why that spectrum is kind of useful. It's not also all that useful, but
let me jump in. This framework might help you understand where I'm coming at this from and how I explain it to myself and my audience. And to be clear, the only one person I could radicalize is myself, and I'm having a great time over here. Right? It's awesome. It's been explained to me as like Dems and Republicans are wings of the same bird. Wings, you know what I mean? And leftists exist outside that framework. That's just how I look at things. And that's why I do believe John Oliver doesn't exist within the leftist framework. And I'm doing gatekeeping. You can fucking sue me. I don't give a shit. But that's just how I look at it. And it's specifically because there's two different things. My main two critiques. He never, maybe three. There's a couple built into this first one. He never talks about like revolutionary politics, and you look in the negative space of what he doesn't says. You also have to look into the negative space of what he doesn't says, because he doesn't even think about it. It's outside of his framework of understanding revolutionary politics. Revolutionary, like if he taught people about Kwame Ture, I wouldn't have to teach them on my stream, right? For instance, and then the other thing is he actually does the shitlibbery. He does the but go vote.
Yeah, well, because I think it's very easy to convince a man of something when his paycheck depends upon it.
15 mil?
And the reverse of it is when if he's being paid not to think about those things. He's paid well enough that he doesn't have to think about those things. It never comes up to him.
Yeah.
Because he went to fucking the University of Cambridge and they got a job on The Daily Show and now has his own show on HBO. I don't think he's wanted for much in his life. And yet, like when you say wings of the same bird, it's basically just two sides of the center.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's from mainstream politics in both America and Canada, it's the liberals and the conservatives in Canada, the Republicans and the Democrats in the U.S. They're both mostly centrist parties. They're just slightly to the left or right of the center. Because that's the only way. That's how they govern, is by like not really deviating all that much one way or another. You can say there are ways that they do deviate, obviously, but they're not that much different because they hew very close to the center, and then it's more like they like virtue signaling. I know that's a loaded term, but that's mostly how the parties differentiate themselves, is by signaling certain virtues that they say we have and the other party doesn't.
Yeah.
But how they actually behave doesn't actually change that much. So I'll take that like when you say leftist, you mean actually far enough away from the center to actually be considered on the left.
Yeah, like revolutionary as opposed to reform. Not that reform can't dull some of the effects of capitalism, but it's not, doesn't represent the solutions, and it doesn't represent our way out. And to an extent, it can be a waste of our revolutionary time and energy. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, I think that's what a lot. I think if you want to be conspiratorial, let me put on my tinfoil hat for a second.
Excuse me.
Oh, do you have an actual one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tinfoil fedora, my lady.
Yeah. And
okay.
I'll shout out Silver because I'll channel him for a bit. You could argue that that's what the point of these shows is, again, to be a holding pattern, to go as a way for people to, you have all that first preamble at the beginning going, here's all your anger, and you're right to be angry. You're right to be angry. And then deflate it by going, but don't do anything about it. Hold the line. Keep in a holding pattern. Keep doing, and because he's saying we just need to vote harder. But what he's actually saying is you just need to do the same thing you've always been doing and don't do anything different. Because everyone also, as I've said before, they were already voting. Who is this person you're talking to that is just now going, oh, I haven't been voting? They've all been voting.
Do you know how much he makes in a year?
A lot. Probably a fucking lot.
15 million to make liberals feel like leftists.
Yeah, it's a pressure valve to make sure the pressure doesn't get too high, and then there's an explosion of some sort of political action that they don't want to happen. So there's got to be little valves that they can open and close so that pressure can't build up too high. You got to give some people some outlets that you can control. And a very good way to do that is have someone go on TV and say a lot of the things you were already thinking, get really amped up, and then deflate it with a big old butt.
Mm-hmm. Well, Stu, one of the reasons I invited you is because I'm working on a piece. I want to do a nice bread tube piece, my first bread tube piece in this style. This is what I'm working towards. I don't know. I ditch plans all the time, but I really want to give them a fair shake. And if someone's listening to us right now, they might think we're not giving them a fair shake. He raises money for some good causes, for some charities. That's, not the worst thing. I would prefer he does like mutual aid and sort of spread that kind of class consciousness. He does, bring up some good topics, and he can be somewhat educational about them. He holds frame well. Mm-hmm. That's nice. He's not a chud.
And, that's the thing, and I go back to the Jon Stewart thing. John Oliver's a comedian. He's a British guy, and like
funny.
he does well. We can have arguments about whether or not we think he's a funny comedian, but he professes to be a comedian, and he does jokes and bits. Because it's again, I think that he's not a journalist either. I don't think he would say that either. I think he would, in the same vein as Jon Stewart, going like, I'm not a journalist, and the fact that people are confusing me with one is a problem. And I think John Oliver doesn't push back as hard on that as Jon Stewart used to. I think John Oliver is a little bit more comfortable with people thinking he's doing journalism rather than just doing bits about the news. Making jokes about the news is not doing journalism. He doesn't do any of his own. He does, like, at least Jon Stewart used to do like interviews with like primary sources. He used to have like politicians and shit. Come on, John Oliver just does a routine. He's just like a 10-minute stand-up special with images and pictures. And you can argue that's what a lot of the fucking mainstream news anchors are doing now, where they're just doing japes and bits about the news. But that's not a good thing. That's why it's always funny to me when I see Americans watching Canadian news, like the CBC. Like anytime there's like a big, like if there's a I think the last time there was like a shooting at the Parliament Hill, the guy like charged Parliament with a gun, and all you saw was like American news anchors like blown away by how Canadians handle the news. It's like, yeah, because sometimes there's not 24 hours of news in a day. So we'll just do the news that is important, and then they just repeat it again. They'll just play the same hour over and over again, rather than having fucking Anderson Cooper try to do an entirely new hour of news on the shit that whoever fucking, I guess it was Cuomo before him, but Cuomo just did the same hour, and now he has to do the next hour where it's like, well, now this is Anderson Cooper's take on the exact same story you heard Andrew Cuomo talk about. Whereas with the CBC, they'll like on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's like, here's the morning news, and then we're just going to repeat that hour and a half or whatever the important news is. We're not going to keep trying to make hay out of it.
Yeah. You were talking about Jon Stewart in there, and maybe it started getting me thinking about something, and I wonder what you think about this. One of the things I've noticed about John Oliver is that there are a lot of his simps that are very vocal. You're like, John Oliver, this fucking guy? It's almost like a blasphemy, a liberal blasphemy to talk about this guy. They can't imagine that he's not good. He's not like the best that they got, or that they got. And actually, that is true, because they're not really looking for other sources. They just watch HBO for their news. But I wonder what you think about whether or not he, like, his show, it's on HBO, it's like an hour long. He's doing more deep dives. It feels more journalistic. There's more research. People say he cites his sources. That's literally how they argue in favor of him. Do you think it was sort of like packaged as like Daily Show, aka Jon Stewart Plus, and that's why they sort of lose their mind when they can't imagine that it's not great?
Well, he is. It seems very clear that he is the heir apparent for the whole Daily Show
empire. It wasn't Trevor Noah.
They tried to do it with Trevor Noah. They tried it with basically every single one of the anchors. Yeah, that was with Jon Stewart, and the only one that caught on was the charming British guy, which is not surprising for an American audience. That's who they like, and they and it's. I'm sorry, Trevor, but America is still America, and they're gonna have their racist stuff, regardless of what I think about you as a comedian. If I was gonna be a betting man, and you had told me, who do you think the American public is going to react better to, the white British man or Trevor Noah is South African, right?
I think so.
Yes, or the black South African. And it's like, I know the American public. I know who they're going to be more receptive to. And that's not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying, if I had to put money down, I probably would have made a decent sum betting on John Oliver over Trevor Noah. Just because that's who America is, let's be honest. Like, they're not, no one's watching what's the Miss Marvel on the new one. And it's like, you should have known that. Like, I applaud that you should make movies or shows or things that center people that don't look like me. That's definitely important. But you should understand that if you're going to do that, a lot of the people that look like me are not going to be interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And if if there's a large chunk of the population are white people and you're not tailoring something to them, generally they're not going to be as interested in it as the people you're tailoring it to. And if the people you're tailoring it to are so that's all that to be said. It's John Oliver is the heir apparent, and I think the reason why they you get so much of this pushback is comedians, journalists, and sort of specifically media critical comedians like John Oliver. Those are liberal troops. Those are their troops. When the right says respect the troops, and you get someone criticizes a man in uniform, and they get all this this tidal wave of hate and anger because it's you got to respect the troops. That's how liberals view and defend comedians and journalists who they view as on their side. John Oliver is on the front lines fighting fascism as far as they're concerned.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the trenches pushing back on the right-wing takeover of America. That's what for the people that you're talking about, they truly believe that John Oliver is doing the Lord's work. He must be respected because he is a troop for democracy in the marketplace of ideas.
Yeah, they think he's that he represents the solution to the right wing, but he doesn't. And one thing that I riffed on earlier yesterday was that Jon Stewart moved from one colonizer nation to another one. And he's sort of a tool of U.S. imperialism in that sense, right? I'm sorry, a tool of U.S. exceptionalism, right? Oh, he's moving here. And so did Trevor Noah. They're both tools of U.S. exceptionalism, American exceptionalism in that sense, right? Oh, they're moving here and they're coming here to tell, right? Why would they move here if this isn't a good place?
Yeah, it's very funny because you see that. And then you watch the videos of just LAPD just manhandling female journalists at the protest last night. And it's
oh my Lord.
I think, and it's fair because that's that you make fun of that. One of the the best example of that where you talk about the butt. Have you ever seen The Newsroom?
Maybe.
That's
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
No, Newsroom is West Wing with journalists.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Was it also Aaron Sorkin?
Yeah, it's Aaron Sorkin.
Oh,
it's great. There's a very good bit where they're talking about, he's like, we're not at the end of the story. This is just the beginning of the story. And they say that line, and then the show gets canceled 3 episodes later. But the beginning of it, the one that kicks off the whole show is what's his face from Dumb and Dumber is doing this whole speech because a blonde college girl asked him, is America the best country in the world? And he does this whole spiel about how, no, America is very clearly not the best country in the world.
We suck.
And then he does the John Oliver, Aaron Sorkin turn where it's but we could be, or we used to be. And then there's just the rising music and shit. And it's no, you should have stopped there.
Yeah.
Because now everything you're saying, that's myth. That is your own myth making. The things that you're saying about America, the things you were saying before is very true. It's what's really right in front of you. And I love that show as a journalist and lover of terrible movies. I love all the Transformers movies because they're incredibly entertaining. I like insane auteurs like Aaron Sorkin or Michael Bay, where it's you can feel their them in every second of the thing they make. Whether you like them or not, you can feel them. They're right there.
Good point.
Yeah. So it's a liberal sort of they will admit all of the problems and all of the things that led us to this point, but then they always have to end it with, but we can't change anything. We have to keep doing what we always did and have faith that it will work out. Have faith in like you saw, I think it was Chuck Todd was bemoaning that like 25% of Americans have faith in their institutions. And he's like, we need to do something so that so that the American public will trust institutions more. It's like, are you going to suggest that those institutions should be more trustworthy at any point? Will you address the fact that maybe there's a reason Americans are distrusting institutions, and it's not just some evil misinformation peddlers have told them not to? Because there was a study done by a university in Canada that was talking about like misinformation peddlers in Canada, and one of the markers that they had found for what determined whether someone was doing disinformation was whether they were sowing distrust in Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government. It's like, then Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government are Russian disinformation agents, because no one has sown more distrust in his government than the Liberals themselves. So it's wild. At no point will they ever say out loud, well, maybe the anger and the distrust is justified.
Right.
We need to change what we're doing. We need to stay the course and keep voting. Just vote. That's why they keep saying it. But it is, I think, interesting that even they are starting to admit out loud that saying just vote is not gonna do anything. Even when even though John Oliver is going just vote, he still says it. He still has to say out loud now that this is fucking it's impotent. There's nothing behind it. It's not going to do anything, but I have to say it anyways.
It's like it's baked into his contract that he has to say go vote, but he's sort of saying all the other stuff too. It's so wild.
Because you can't ignore it anymore. It's gotten to a point where he cannot ignore the impotence of saying just vote.
AOC said it too. She's like, you know what? I can't tell you that voting's going to solve this. Electoralism isn't going to get outside of it.
It's not, because that's the thing. They won by 3 million votes. These justices are there for life. You have a majority. The reason why you can't get things passed is because of the moderate Democrats that they voted for. They voted for fucking Manchin, or not Manchin. Is it Manchin?
Manchin.
Is he a Democrat? Yeah, Manchin's
he's
a Democrat, right?
He's President Manchin. He controls the whole thing, right?
Yeah, Manchin.
How much power
and then
that man
what's
has?
her face? The blonde lady.
Cinema. Kirsten Cinema.
Yeah, they voted for them. Those are Democrats. They got them into office, and they're the reason why they can't get a lot of shit passed. So doubly it doesn't work, because even when they do vote and get the Democrats elected, those same Democrats are the reason they can't get the things they want passed, because we have to reach out to these moderates. There's no one a Democrat loves more than a Republican that they can have a respectful chat with. They did, like, it's this weird thing where they like each other, they're colleagues, they're co-workers. That's what people are, why they get so angry that there's not more like aggressiveness from Democrats, because they do like each other.
It's so weird.
They're friends.
Yeah.
I think it was Biden who's like, John McCain was my good friend. That's true. They're very close with each other. They spend a lot of time with each other. They go to parties. They go to birthdays. They go to weddings with each other. They're like children go to the same schools. It's a small club, and you're not in it. And I've started working on the Hill, and you get to see the club, and you're like, oh, there is a club.
Yeah.
They all go. They all hang out, and they're friends. And I'm not saying that to say like they're malicious. It's if you work with someone and you hang out with, you're gonna want to be like to not, you don't want to constantly be fighting with each other. Yeah, the Michelle Obama, but they're friends. They hang out with each other. They go to parties. They go to the same social events.
Bipartisanship.
Yeah, that's the spouse of someone who took over for that guy. They had her husband had the same job as that guy. He succeeded them. They understand each other in a way that most people, like Bush understands Michelle Obama in a way that someone who is not an Obama or a Bush who wasn't part of the White House can't understand them, because they have shared experiences.
That's war criminal solidarity right there.
Yeah, well, I feel like the fairness is like, I don't think you can be a president of the United States without doing some at least coming right up to the edge of a war crime.
Not with that attitude.
Here's the thing. I think people need, if Bernie had won, Bernie would be responsible for some war crimes.
Yeah. That sucks.
It's or at least things you would call a war crime. That's the job of president of the United States. You got to do some dirt shit to be, if you want to be at the top, you gotta make sure no one kicks you off. Like it's what being the president of America entails. And unless Bernie came in and was like, I'm overthrowing I'm not going to do a Bernie accent. But if he just like, I'm going to like get rid of the CIA, the FBI, and the military overnight, he probably still would have done some really fucked up shit.
Yeah.
If day 2 there was no CIA, FBI, or like American military, Navy, or any other special forces, he still would have been responsible for a lot of awful shit, probably.
And
that's just the job, I think.
And if you try to shut it down, they'd assassinate him, like JFK.
Heart attack gun.
Yeah. They get that heart attack gun. You know they get that heart attack gun. They were showing it off the Church Committee, 1974, the year of intelligence. All right, well, Stu, I enjoyed our chat today. I think this is a great time to wrap it up. Yeah. Awesome. I want folks to...
Had a fun time.
Yeah, I had a blast. This is really good. Someone in chat was like asking, who's this for? It is for libs, and I know there's not a ton of libs that watch my channel. But this is again, I mentioned this at the top, maybe before the break, but I'm working on a bread tube type piece, and I'm trying to talk to my friends and make sure that I've sort of got my my bases covered. I do want to give John Oliver a good shake, but I see a lot of people, including myself, that I used to show John Oliver, be like, oh, let's educate myself and my audience. Well, I now regret that those decisions. I'm seeing better now. I'm seeing through it. I'm a recovering lib, and shit takes time. But I do want to make a resource.
You should feel bad about that.
It is what it is.
That's what you're saying. You moved past the holding pattern that John Oliver wants to keep his people at. But you needed to go like, if we're looking at politics as a spectrum, to get to the left, you have to go through the woods of liberalism, as it were. Like,
I like that.
Very few people skip. Very few people I think I've seen who skipped immediately to, like, even all of the most ardent communists that I see on Twitter. Yeah. You were watching Jon Stewart in the early 2000s. Shut the fuck up. I know you were.
Oh yeah.
I know you, like, where you were in 2000. You were not here. You had your own path, and I don't think you should be you shouldn't feel too bad about the fact that you had to walk that path to get to where you are.
To add to the analogy, or to analogize it or whatever, I like to think of it as like a stepping stone. But in order to get to the left, you got to step away. Your foot's got to come off. Like, you got to be firmly over here. That's sort of my analogy. Yeah. Well, fuck yeah. No, I mean, it is what it is. I don't feel badly, but that's just the thing, is that I see a lot of people that do consider themselves leftists, and of course, that being one of my biggest critiques of John Oliver, is that I believe he convinces liberals that they are leftist, and I don't think that they are. And I hope that they do become that one day because we need them to. But it's not up to me to change their mind. So I do want to make a resource for like people, you know, if someone's like in a chat and they're like, oh, you're watching a John Oliver video. Did you know he's actually not that good? And for there to actually be a resource for them to pull up, because guess what? I've only found 3 videos that are critical of John Oliver from the left. There are a bunch from the right, like Steven Crowder talking about socialism or whatever. But like, only 3 videos. One you've probably seen is the Empire Files video, Michael Preisner talking about how he shits the bed on Venezuela. And then there's 2 of Michael Brooks, one from the Michael Brooks Show, one from Majority Report. Otherwise, there's not much from the left that is critical of John Oliver. And I think that's one of the things that's exploding some brains right now. They've just never heard a critique of him. Never heard of it. All right.
Well, no, because they're in the holding pattern, and they think like there's a lot of people who think that's as left as they can go. They don't know that there's further pastures.
Yeah. Yes. He's pacifying, and I hate that about him. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, folks, you could find Lefthandstu, over there at The Culture Live, on YouTube at theculture.tv. And really great content. I look up to all of them all the time. Really stoked to see your content over there.
Next week we'll be doing the follow-up to the Indonesia files.
Yes!
Finally doing part 3.
I literally just had this pulled up. He's on Multipolarista. Aaron Good is on Multipolarista talking with Ben Norton over there. Criminality of U.S. Empire and Deep State with historian Aaron Good. This is one of my favorite time periods of history. I just love talking about those, like 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm learning so much about that. All right.
Yeah, no, it's sick. I just sit and in the studio or like the StreamYard and listen to him and Haley talk about this shit, and I learned so much.
Awesome. So that one's already recorded, or we're waiting for it to come out?
We'll be recording it on Tuesday, so that should be out either by the end of the week or the week after.
You like stream it live, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Doing it all. We'll be looking forward to seeing that. You can also, folks, follow Lefthandstu on Twitter, Lefthandstu, and Stu streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lefthandstu. Let me put that in the chat there as well. Cool. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Stu, this is a blast chatting with you. As always, returning champion. And thanks for dropping by. I really appreciate your time. Have a really nice Saturday over there in Canada land. American U.S. imperialism's hat.
I'm going to go have a nap.
Nice.
So,
all right.
happy
nap time. Thanks again, Stu. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye. Folks, that was the show with Lefthandstu. Thank you to all of the people that keep this stream alive. All my sponsors, the Only Dance community, including my team. Thank you, Sleeve, for running the show. Big shout out, Todd Gonzalez.